Hi, my name is Sjatar. I got another build that came from my deepest despair, for losing 2 discharge juggernauts in the first couple of maps of both characters. But what I came up with is much more interesting. It's Trauma Stacker. If this is your first time hearing of this kind of a build, it's a build that uses Bone Shatter or the Trauma Support gem to get a lot of trauma stacks. The build I'm making has the potential to get 500, but 300 trauma stack is more efficient. I'll go over this later in the video. Changes in 3.23. Infliction League. All alt quality gems were removed. This broke all previous versions of trauma stackers. This is because you no longer get attack speed per trauma stack. So without the huge attack speed from trauma stacks, how do we get the required attack speed to attack a total of 300 or 500 times in 10 or 15 seconds? Trauma stacking. Double strike of momentum. This is the answer. We will quality stack it so that at 10 stages we get 240% more attack speed. This is achieved through a level 4 enhance, a +3 support despot axe, and 23 quality gem. On top of this, we will also self-chill with Call of the Void and get an Ancestral Protector Totem with Panopticon Anointed. Even more, we will get a tincture that gives us a chance to get rage if we hit a rare or unique enemy. This tincture is especially powerful as it's uncapped and gives some insane level of rage gain. The planned setup will get 20 to 25 rage per second, which will make us able to keep a berserk basically permanent against most rares and unique enemies. All in all, this gives us 452% more attack speed. We get increased attack speed mostly from momentum support, faster attacks, rage, and full frenzy charges, giving us 196% increased attack speed. Our weapon is a Despot Axe crafted with Essence attack speed and enchanted with Harvest to give us a 1.86 base attack speed weapon. This all results in almost exactly 30 attacks per second. PoE runs at 30 ticks per second. We cannot attack faster than this. Now, Double Strike has the ability of attack twice per usage of the skill. This can surpass the limit of 30 attacks per second, but you will only gain trauma the first time a skill hits an enemy. Repeated skill usage does not increase the number of stacks. You might be tempted to add in Multi-Strike, as this also repeats the skill. This will show up on the tooltip as increases in attack speed, but again, we want to get trauma stacks, and repeated hits does not give us stacks. Our trauma stacks last for 10.69 seconds. Nice. And 30 attacks per second will gain a little over 300 stacks. Survival. Up to this point, we have just assumed we can get as many trauma stacks as we want, without thinking about the consequences of our actions. We use a level 21 trauma support for maximum damage. This is increased to level 24 in our axe. And 300 stacks of trauma will take a staggering 78k physical damage per attack. If we attack 30 times a second. Or if we get 500 stacks, we take 130k damage per attack. This is not possible, so we need to both get defenses and lower the level of trauma support to a sustainable level. My current PoB setup uses a level 15 trauma support, which is increased to level 18 in our axe. This results in 40.8k physical damage per attack, which might still sound like a lot, but it is sustainable. In theory. Currently, my build have gotten to about 26 attacks per second using a level 11 trauma support for 250 trauma stacks and 24k damage per attack. Now, how do we mitigate this self-damage? This is done through Juggernaut's Untiring and the Keystone Divine Shield. Both of these gives us regeneration based on the physical damage that we have mitigated over a duration. If you math on both of these, you will see that the regen we get back is more than the damage we take. For Divine Shield, we take 100 physical damage and mitigate 90% of this damage. We regen 10.8 ES back over 4 seconds. Given we only took 10 damage, we have actually gained 0.8 ES. So, if we can survive the physical damage we take for 4 seconds, Divine Shield will make us immortal. Now, this is not enough, and we'll also take Untiring. If we do similar calculations, we see that we regen back 13.5 life over 10 seconds, excluding increases in life regeneration that the node also gives us. So if we can survive our own damage for a couple of seconds until Untiring Divine Shield gives us regen, we can survive some insane amount of physical damage. We do this by getting 130k armor, 7 endurance charges, Audic armor, Nature's Patience, Fortify, physical damage taken as elemental, and some flat fist mitigation on our body armor. All this makes us able to get 91.23% physical mitigation from a 40.8k physical hit, making us take just 3,577 physical damage per attack. We attack 30 times a second, so we still take a whopping 107k damage per second, but Untiring and Divine Shield promised us that they will take care of this. Damage. All of this to come to the realization that sadly we cannot get close to the damage of the old trauma stackers. Even with 30 attacks per second and taking almost as much physical damage that we deal to the enemy per attack, we get around 4 mil Guardian or Pinnacle DPS. But with the kind of defenses we are forced to get on this build, that might not all be too terrible. Side notes. If you want to make this build in softcore, I don't think you'll need to care much about this section, but if you're crazy enough to try this in hardcore, which I'm doing, there's a large amount of things you need to consider when gearing or running maps. We need to be curse and shock immune. There is no way around this, as both shock and curse will kill us instantly. Luckily, this is not all too bad, but you kinda want immunity anyways. We get shock immunity from Pantheon and the Jewel, or well, 95% reduction, which is enough. We get curse immunity from Jewels and Flasks. This is still something I'm experimenting with, but I might get 2 Flasks with curse reduction. It will never fall off. There is other sources of increased damage taken, which cannot be prevented. I do not have a list of these, but I will list some. Endless Misery Totem is a lab, applies an increased damage taken debuff. Beyond Demon Harpy applies an increased physical damage taken debuff. Beyond Pale Seraphim, 15% increased damage taken. There is also sources of reduced life and ES regeneration. Frostbomb from Essences, reduced recovery rare monster modifier, and Ambassador Ghost being the worst with 100% less recovery. If anybody at GGG sees this, please, for the love of God, remove this or make it 100% reduced recovery so my heart can take a break from always being in the lookout. Please. Oh, Ambassador. There is also some bosses that disable your regeneration, and that's not good either. Conclusions. This build has been incredibly fun to play and figure out. It has also given me some headaches and nightmares about seeing Ambassadors. But it's a relatively cheap build depending on the price of Relic Impatience and Nature's Patience mostly. The gear is self-crafted, Hardcore does not really have the niche pieces I needed. And if people want, I can include some Craft of Exile crafting instructions on how to make the chest piece and weapon. Defenses are amazing and damage is okay. I don't recommend a build that is not particularly amazing at any kind of content. But it's a decent mapper, and I think it can safely kill some endgame bosses, but I still need to prove this. I often limit test my builds later in the league, and unless I die before I make a new character, you might see this build take on some bigger bosses closer to the next league. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm streaming this over at my Twitch at Sjatar_. There's a link in the description. Bye!